There's nothing that could harm you, the soul, unless you believe it to be so. And you would be creating those dimensional spaces for that to be so anyways, for a temporary experience.
Yes.
When we start with the layers 12 down to 1, this construct was the unexperienced on the other side, outside of it completely. This was you could say, a creation to experience that which we are not on the other side. So experiencing the limitations through the confines of the physical body. The soul's still not limited because the physical body is part of the veil, breaking past the veil to see and realize, standing up again, being reborn again, realizing that there's nothing that could touch you. But the physical body created these self-imposed limitations in the construct. You could say the freeing of souls here, because once you're in realm 1, and if you could convince a soul and make it believe, due to its own infinite power of its will and its spoken word, to create something, create a loop for itself, well, then you will create a self-imprisoned soul within that cycle.
Is this something that is self-perpetuated and self-created by our own thought forms? Or is this something? Yes. Okay.
Because, like I said before, nothing could control or entrap you, the soul, unless you believe it to be so. Your soul, each individual soul, is the ultimate authority, and it has no limitations of that which it could create and experience. That is including if you believe that you could be looped and cycled, therefore you will create that to be so. So once you have realm 1 with all of the fear and the limitations of trying to make souls believe in the state of forgetfulness here, this realm has put souls in such a state of fear where they are creating these self-imposed prisons. There's a level of beings that are assisting in the great awakening process and freeing this realm from these self-imposed limitations of fear and imprisonment that the soul is creating.
Then is that a distortion, or is that something that has been a chosen path of experience collectively?
Yes, this is all agreed upon. But when you end up creating a space to experience that which we are not, the extremes, you also have the unforeseen events, things that haven't been foreseen to go in certain directions. Mm-hmm. And this is where you'll get things playing out that have been so extreme here that no, certain individuals are not experiencing that which they've agreed to. This is where there is a massive front from the other side to awaken souls here, to wake up to who and what they really are, to shatter all of these self-imposed prisons, the mind, putting you in a box of limitation. Mm-hmm. Because even when you do cross over or death, if you have a lot of fear, you will see this through all near-death experience. And even myself, took me years to get over it, where you will experience your fears playing out temporarily or put yourself in these self-imposed prisons until you realize, come to a state like I have, where I'm like, I don't care anymore. Take my soul, because you can't necessarily kill my soul. But I just got to that state where I'm like, I just don't care. And then, bam, everything opened up. Access to the 12 realms, access to outside of the construct again, multiple times, doing this over and over and over again, because I pierce through the number one thing that is blocking every single soul here from truly accessing things is the fear. There's no walking away from yourself ever. Even when you cross over, you always face yourself. And this is part of the whole judgment thing. It's, you're judging yourself, etc. The earthly realm. It is very, you could say, chaotic as such, because you're seeing physically and also thought forms in other people's field as well. This is what they use as well to get people stuck in a loop, in a cycle, constantly of focusing on the wrong things, typically fear-based narratives, fear-based things, because that collective thought starts to project a certain timeline. And with more energy projected into that timeline, it's basically gets more solidified.
You're able to see timelines play out because you're seeing the saturation of thought forms that take on a certain amount of direction and mass. And it helps you to see what's shaping up with some accuracy in the future. And you've had this happen in very small ways when you've been out of your body watching something and boom, you think something and wow, it's happening the next moment.
I also want to say this, a lot of the education around the spirituality or New Age. I call it New Age propaganda. And you could say they've infiltrated that level of understanding of what things are and not really giving people a solid foundation of the core truths. This is where you'll go into a very intelligent tactic to tell somebody there are many different truths and many different things. And that is true to a certain degree. This is perceptional truths based off experience, and that changes moment to moment. Right now, your perception has changed from the beginning of this call, whether if it's 1%, a fraction of percent, 50%. So therefore, your truth has changed. There are core truths within the construct of this creation that will never change regardless of how you feel, perceptions, or anything. They are the foundation. And understanding the foundation, then you could start to build upon that of, okay, where does this line up? Where does that not line up based off what you're getting? And see where things fall and things don't fall.
The ultimate is universal, unconditional love.
Yes.
Can you give us a couple of other platform truths that our reality is absolutely based on?
The soul cannot be measured. You can't have unconditional love with the judgment. You can't have ultimate expression of freedom with a limitation, and your consciousness is the dictator of the universe. You live on forever. The soul is eternal. These are unchangeable truths that you, your soul, who you are, you create on the other side with your will and your spoken word. What you speak as frequency manifests and creates what your soul desires to experience. These are unchangeable things. These are the core, unchangeable, that will forever be constant.
Being very careful of what we're going to dedicate our mind space and emotional space and words to. Human beings are very undisciplined in that way. And I think in part because we haven't been taught the importance of having clear thoughts, uplifted thoughts, of using our words wisely. So you're really, I think for everybody watching this, you've certainly brought home the notion that those things exist and they don't go away. Those things we say, those things we see.
It's also in the language, what you just said as well. It's called spelling for a reason. So it's not necessarily your intent, your soul's intent could override these things. But typically people aren't aware of this. So they end up saying things unaware when they want to end up creating something or manifesting something or putting that energy into something. For instance, if I were to say to you, Regina, I hope you get well, you would automatically think that I have done something good to you when I actually didn't. Because
the word hope,
I hope you get well means that you must be unwell to get well first. Yeah. So a better way to phrase commanding things to end up changing the frequency within individuals and directing the energy is, Regina, well, you are. And this is where you just start to go back into the history of the text, the Bible, things like that, all throughout history, where the original language all sounded like riddles, or they all had certain things missing because their words, spoken word, was done in intent. It was intentional. It was very directed and intentional. You could say when they were commanding and programming certain things within their cells and other people's cells in the body, that's what they were doing. Because what you speak will decode and program the body to believe and start doing things in a certain way, whether if that's, this is as simple as the placebo effect.
Yes. Thank you for making it very clear how important this is. This is the nature of reality, these very thoughts we have. It's not just you are what you eat and you become what you think. This is real.